Todd, you don't mind if we do a little bit of recording so we can put this in our podcast?
Ah,
Funny to
no,
you?
no. This is fair game, man.
All
You're
right.
good. So, all right, everyone, welcome to the 24-hour podcast. We are we're 13 and a half hours in, and we just had another UStream crash, but we're back up online and got everyone back in. 251 people come back in, so that's pretty good sign. If they weren't there, they wouldn't have refreshed. And been kind of all over the place here this evening, and I'm actually working on making sure that all the lines are up and working again. Some of them were not. Some of them were down. Actually, the TalkShoe line. Yeah, Ustream has not crashed. This time it was Firefox. So Firefox crashed twice. Ustream has been up, except for the 24-hour podcast, and it went haywire. But let me see here.
We tried to get video on ours, but
Oh man,
we don't have much of a connection in our homes.
So let me. I'm bringing the last little bit of stuff up, and I have to apologize. I'm kind of eating in between too because I haven't. I really haven't ate much in the last 12 hours. And okay, so we can start my call. Let's bring that up. All right, one more time. I think we're going to be good there. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves? And actually, Braden, do you have video?
I do, but it's great on my end, which is bizarre. Can I try and give you a call right back?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's see what happens.
Hey Todd, people in the chat room are asking for Skype audio up. I don't know if it's something you can control or if I have to do it here.
Yeah, you guys, I've got it to a pretty good level here. So
Okay, let me get closer to my mic then.
This is
Yeah, it's kicking my video every time I turn it on.
all right. Hang on a second, Braden. I'm gonna reload Skype. We've seen this once before earlier today. I'm just gonna reload it completely. I'm gonna disconnect you, and as soon as I come online, you can call back.
Todd, how long have you been up today, man?
I'm at 13 and a half hours or something like that.
Man. You going the whole stretch?
Oh, every time.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, we're almost there. Hang on. The machine is okay. Come on, let me hit the start button. Okay. Oh, I still got my plate. My son's asked me, where's the food? It's on my lap. Oh, that's nice. It gave me an error when it comes up. Did you see that?
I couldn't see. It's.
Oh, yeah, you can't see it on your
display's
side.
kind of, yeah, whited out. Yeah.
Did that work that time? It's like he's calling twice.
Oh.
All right, 1 for the money, 2 to get ready.
3, get ready, and no go, go, go.
Psych.
Oh, that sucks.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm up.
All right, I'm going to let you guys drive for a second. I'm going to lean over here and eat. Tell everybody who you are, what your show is, where they can find you, and give them the 411. And take about 5 minutes between you, and then I'll finish eating.
Sure. Good luck with that pasta.
Go ahead.
Anyway, we are my Untitled Folder. My name is Wilt Johnston, and above me here we got
Down there.
No,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
above.
My name is Braden Douglas. And that's Douglas with 2 S's, so I don't want anyone in the chat room to get that wrong. I see,
Please don't. He
I see
gets
there's some
really
very
angry.
anxious My Entitled Folder listeners in the chat room tonight.
All 2 of
No,
them.
Douglas with 2 S's, Bob. Let's be serious. But yeah, we do a podcast called My Entitled Folder. and I guess a lot of people have some issues with the naming of it, and it's actually, if anyone out there owns a Mac, every time you make a new folder, it comes up as Untitled Folder. And so it's that name kind of smashed in with My Little Pony, which Wilt and I are actually avid fans of My Little Pony. And if I could, like, if you see over here, which you guys, it's like, right, I can't pull my laptop over there. I have just like a whole wall dedicated to My Little Pony. And
I'm not allowed to bring him to the office.
Wilt's at his retail location, so.
Yeah. Had to be professional.
But yeah, I mean, do you have anything to add, Wilt?
What is I'm sorry, maybe it's an age thing. What is My Little Pony? What's the pun?
Oh, come on.
Todd. Well, My Untitled Folder has absolutely nothing to do with My Little Pony, other than its name.
Yeah.
The podcast is about general technology and with a focus on, I guess, Macism, if you want to call it that. We really central around kind of Apple Mac news and everything around there, and then we just kind of tie in other technologies that we find interesting or cohesive to our likings.
It's a lot of like Apple, the cloud, and a little bit of web design sprinkled in. So
now you guys know do you guys do your homework? You know my history on Macs, right? It's just a computer, don't you know?
We're all just computers.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I have 3 Macs in the house and probably a dozen PCs, and it's part of them are here in the studio. But my son is a Mac user, my daughter's a PC user, my wife's a PC user, and I guess I use both. And primarily I use it for editing video. That's what I primarily use a Mac for. But
that's it.
That's it.
I use it for everything, man.
Yeah, that's it because, hey, when you've been on a PC for, well, as long as I have, I'm sorry, I use the tools that I think are the best, and it's just a personal preference thing. Nothing against Macs. I like Macs. I like Macs. They do.
It totally comes down to user preference. You're right.
Yeah. And Final Cut, man, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I love Final Cut. And but some of the other stuff I don't really get. My son does. He understands it. He uses it. But so you guys, how long you guys been doing your show then?
We just came up on our year, Braden? Year and a half, something like that.
No.
Someone's rubbing. Who's rubbing?
Pretty much through like 3/4 of a year. We've done probably, give or take, almost 45 episodes.
I think something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I don't like to keep track. Just
so
it would make me cry.
So you guys have made it over the hump then of because like I was saying a few minutes ago, most shows don't make it to 25. You guys made it to 45 shows. How often are you guys doing a show? Once a week, twice a week, or?
Yeah, we do it once a week.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And you guys do mostly audio, or do you guys do video too?
Well, we've tried to integrate audio, but audio has been. We try to integrate video, but working off home connections has been problematic.
Yeah. So are you guys
particularly mine?
So where are you guys located at? Where you guys do your show out of?
We actually do it. We're scattered across the East Coast. Braden, actually, it started when Braden was in Wyoming, and I've been in North Carolina. And we started the podcast much further apart than we are now. Braden's actually now in Florida, and now I'm still in North Carolina. So we do it primarily over Skype and record out of Skype and then produce it and put it up.
Yeah. I mean, Wilt and I, we went to school together, and we ran the help desk for the school together. And so we have a pretty tight bond when it comes to technology. And we also pseudo feel the same, or the same about it. I don't know. I'm gonna get back to your Mac thing though, because I get this a lot. I was a PC user for 15, 20 years, and I mean I haven't been a Mac user for that long. Maybe like I don't know, 4 or 5 years or 4 years now.
No.
I mean I've used Linux in every flavor in between, but I mean, just for getting things done on a daily basis, I do not see how anyone can do that on a PC these days.
Well, you go into a business place. What do they have on the desktops? PCs.
So
You don't find Macs in most corporate situations even today. So I understand they're being used, but they're still most corporations are using PCs, and if you're going into the business world, you better be PC savvy. It's good to be both, but most
I
companies don't
think it's
give you
good
a
to be
choice.
cross-platform. And
Yeah,
Todd, you're absolutely right. Historically, the market corporate-wise has been dominated by Macs. I mean, by PCs.
right.
And I'm seeing some things in the thing about Excel and Word, and those completely run on Macs now. And then you don't run into the same issues that you couldn't before. In fact, we had something on the in our notes for the next episode about people running Windows software on Macs, and
Yeah.
it's becoming more integrated. And I was actually at a Mac corporate seminar where they're talking about integration and Active Directory setups, and it's getting a lot better. People are moving towards that direction, and companies, especially new young companies, especially some startups, are really looking to be hip and start up and be that, oh, what do these kids like to work with? And it's Macs, and they get an education, and then education people get trained on the Macs, and then those kids go out and start companies, and what they want to run their companies is Mac. So I think that it's just going to take a little bit for it to propagate, and the platform's trending upwards. We can see through the sales, although they did drop over the past 11 days. They were dropped 7 points, I think, but I think
Yeah.
that's just a factor of their open lawsuits with Nokia right now. But that'll all go away. The platform's trending, so I have faith in it. In fact, my store here, we do support for local businesses, and we do primarily Mac and PC business support. So we have
Right.
a lot of Mac clients, and not all of them are just graphic designer firms. We have textile production industries. We have medical facilities and doctors' offices all running on Macs. So I mean, we have a wide gamut, just as you would expect the PC users to use. We
Yeah.
have Mac users out there as well.
I think what I'm going to be doing in the future is I've got a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, a 6-year-old as of right now. Well, actually, in a few hours, 5 hours to be 6.
I'll have
And
my own
Wow,
birthday.
Todd,
and
you're quite a reproducer.
and
What's that like?
that's funny. Yeah, I actually got 4 kids. I got one in college in Florida. But as they grow up, and based upon what we're seeing in the space, I'll buy a Macs and then run parallels on them. My Mac Pro down here, that's my monster machine where I do all my video editing. I've got parallels running on that, and I run it in coherence mode, and I get the best of both worlds. But sadly, when it comes to really doing audio, and I've used both machines as far as on a production side, on the podcast side, the Windows machine hands down blows the Mac away for basically quality of recording, largely because I have mostly an analog chain. I just recently went to FireWire, but so it probably wouldn't make a delta now at all. But for video, don't get me wrong, the video editing stuff is much stronger, at least I feel, in the Mac. And it's just basically the tools. Once you get it's like buying a camera. Are you guys Canon guys, or are you guys Nikon guys?
Uh,
Do you have a full body size
I'm
camera?
a point and shoot.
I'm a Canon guy,
Okay. Once you buy a Canon full body, and the first time you buy a pro lens, you're done for life. You really are going to be a Canon guy unless you have big dollars in your pocket to move over to a different machine. And I think it's the same way with PC users. You've invested in all this software. You've got all these production tools, and your upgrade prices are $150 versus paying $500 for a new copy. And I think that's what it boils into. So, but as my kids grow up, I'll buy them Macs, and they'll be able to run both operating systems, and they'll be able to figure out what they want to do themselves. So
yeah. And I mean, I work a lot in the entrepreneur space,
Right.
and that's all I see is Macs, and I've seen a lot of little netbooks these days as well. I mean, if you're just writing code in something as easy as Vim, you don't need any power. Like, there's no power requirement at all for that.
right.
So
But
it's a hard sell too.
I
And
think
a lot of
that-
people.
I think at this day and age, still, the argument over PC or Mac is really kind of mute. Some people say it's not, but really, I'm a firm believer. if no matter what computer you have, you should be able to do what you need to do on the PC. And it's either one, and it's interchangeable for me at this point. So what?
So
Go
have
ahead.
we been the first Mac people on your podcast tonight?
I
Or
think no. I think this is the first conversation we've had specifically about Mac tonight. But generally, it's has been more about information and what people do on their shows. So I just had to, it was getting late, so I had to take a little, did a little fun PC Mac mix up here. So
yeah,
and I
definitely.
get, I get my chops busted by my listeners whenever I've been talking too much about Mac stuff. I get hit on by the PC guys, and when I start talking too much PC stuff, I get hit on by the opposite group. And then same thing with the Android phone or the iPhone. It's those everyone has their own camp, and I try to be an equal opportunity basher.
Well, I think yeah, I think that's a good sort of a segue. I mean, you saw today how like the absolute masses are chopping at the bit of this apparent Google phone, Google branded phone,
Yeah.
and
What
I
about Google
think
OS?
I think that in itself is going to be such a game changer.
Depends on if they have, Google. We may all be surprised if Google comes out and truly makes it open and doesn't go through the asinine process that iPhone app developers had to go through to get their apps on the iPhone. I think it'll be a smashing hit. But the moment they do the archaic controls and walled garden stuff that the folks at the on the iPhone App Store have had to do, they're done. People aren't going to put up with it twice. They're
Well,
dealing with it with the iPhone now because they have to. It is the number one, it is the king of the hill right now. But if they come out with a Google phone and it's locked to beyond belief, and there's this crazy approval process, developers are going to say, "Forget it." Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, dummy me. It's not going to happen.
Todd, I think Braden and I both agree that the iPhone App Store approval process is broken, and a lot of other people agree with us as well.
Yeah,
But the Google branded phone is by default unlocked, and I think that's a great starting point,
yeah,
and hopefully a great framework for the rest of the developers that are going to come on board and program for it.
right.
I
By
mean, it's a
default, use
definite
on any
spring
GSM
pad. It
network. So
pushes exactly what Apple did with the iPhone and the iPod Touch out there in one shot. An open phone that you don't need to buy a carrier license to is
Yeah,
huge.
yeah.
And even if the phone is $500, if you're not married to a carrier for 2 years, I think that in itself will sell it.
The challenge that the thing that they absolutely unequivocally have to do, just like the Androids have done, is the number one limitation of the iPhone right now is it will not run an app in the background unless you jailbreak it and do some things to it. Which if you jailbreak it, you can run apps in the background. But the simple, you just look at podcasting in itself. You cannot download a podcast in the background on this phone and do something else. You have to make it front and center, set your phone down, let it download the show in whatever app you're using, and then hopefully it downloads the whole way. The folks at Google, they're not going to make that mistake twice. And I really think the biggest shortcut or the biggest shortcoming on the iPhone is because they're not allowing back. And what it's going to do, I think it's going to force Apple's hand. I think they're going to have to allow background processing on the iPhone at some point.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's plenty of rumor out there that the next iPod generation or the next iPhone generation will have a dual core processor of some kind, which hopefully that will subdue Apple into allowing us to run background processes. But I don't even think that's the point. Like the point is like Google's rolling their own OS into it, and it's going to be built by them.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they will have nightly builds of the operating system that you can download onto your phone, which will, I mean, just to be able to do that and have that up to date bleeding edge technology at your fingertips, that's going to be the game changer. And I don't care if like 3% of the population do that. Those 3% of the population, they will be driving the other people that they know to do the exact same thing. And once you get into that cycle of just driving innovation over and over and over again, it's amazing.
If we go to the chat room, people in chat room are saying T-Mark says number one limitation of the iPhone is AT&T. Number two, it's by Apple, which is kind of funny. Number 3
Yeah.
is no flash, and these are inputs by separate folks. And Miss Small Biz Spec says that Google can subsidize a phone by having it tied back to Google services and may undercut Apple in pricing big time. And that's true, too. So we'll see what happens now. CLC Radio says that background iPhone problem is not a matter of cores, it's a matter of coding. I agree, it is a matter of coding. So I think everyone's got pretty strong opinions about everything on these phones and which way they should be or shouldn't be. But one thing I do agree with the last comment being made by LockPro is they say that the Google phone will need a much better UI than what is currently on the Droids. And man, I've seen the Droid interface, and if you're a geek, yeah, you love the Android interface. But have you actually played with the Android interface? And give that to your mom, and let you play with the Android interface, and see how she does. My mom does fine with the iPhone, but if you put her on a Droid, she'd be like, "Here, you can have this back." That's at least my 2 cents.
I can't give anything to my mother because she's a bodybuilder, and if she doesn't like it, she will break it. So, no technology to her.
Yeah. Another thing too, it's all this innovation by other companies, or maybe we shouldn't say innovation, catching up to Apple, and they've learned everything, all the mistakes Apple has done, and they're not going to repeat that. So I think what it's really going to be good, it's going to bring competition back into the marketplace. It's going to force Apple to change the way they're doing business. Ultimately, we're all going to win. But when you have AT&T telling everyone to quit using bandwidth in San Francisco and New York, hey, you know what I told my listeners to do? Find some streaming site, and then put this baby on stream and just set it down, let it run, plug it into your charger. We pay, and if someone was on earlier today, I pay Apple $129 a month for this phone. Okay, I get unlimited bandwidth with it right now, unlimited calling. So $129, and they're telling us they want us to conserve bandwidth on the phone. I pay $79 for my business commercial 10 meg down, 1 meg up internet service. I pay $29.95 for my 3 meg down, 1 meg up clear connection. I pay $29.95 for my 3 meg down, 1 meg up DSL connection. So that's $60, $79, $139 I'm paying for internet connections, where I'm using bandwidth around the clock, around time, and they're going to complain. They have the balls to complain that we need to conserve bandwidth at $129 a month.
Yeah,
the issue there.
I think it comes down. Go ahead, Wilt.
I think the issue there is that they're worried about the heavy users, like perhaps maybe some of the users that you told to start streaming some things. We were reading an article where they said that the top 40% of all iPhone traffic is created by the
3%.
Top 3%.
Yeah.
So I think those 3% of the people they're worried about, and a cable municipal lease company called Time Warner was having the same sort of issue here a couple months ago, and that caused quite an outrage. And
well, Comcast.
I think it's the same. Comcast was doing it out in Texas, right?
Yeah. Well, Comcast has got everyone bandwidth limited to 250 gigs, which is a far cry from what Time Warner wanted to do at 50. So, but what is too much? What is too much bandwidth on this?
Well, it's subjective.
I have an EVDO connection that I travel with when I'm on the road. I use that card 5 days a week, 12 hours a day when I'm traveling. And I use about 4.5 gigs of traffic. And I'm doing normal internet stuff all day long, except for streaming video. I listen to streaming audio from time to time. And I'm a 4.5 gig user on the plan that's limited to 5 gigs. So I use that thing a lot. Now, I can't imagine that anyone would be using their phone heavier than what a standard EVDO customer would. Because you would have to continuously be on this thing, doing something nonstop. Or maybe they're listening to streaming radio stations or something. What do you guys, what would constitute a heavy user on an iPhone?
I don't know. I think I'm a heavy user, and over the past 19 days, I've only used 1.6 gigabytes.
Oh, they actually,
downstream.
oh,
on
they
my
actually
phone.
show that on the bill, huh? I don't even look.
No, it's actually it's an app in the phone. It's under general network or general info usage.
Oh,
Sorry,
so let's see here.
yeah,
So,
settings general usage.
I'll have to go look.
Yeah, then gives you your all sorts of metrics there. Like
Okay.
I've
Oh,
used 8 minutes since my last full charge. It's been standby for an hour and 11 minutes. Blah blah blah. Do you see under
yeah.
cellular network data?
Yeah, I see it. Current period, 6 days, 11 hours. I've used 1.2 gig received, sent 112 megs.
So you're a little bit heavier than I am,
Yeah.
which is not a problem.
So,
Yeah.
But I
so
think
Todd,
they're
it
worried
looks
about.
like you're the problem, not the
Maybe.
solution.
Well, I stream a lot, Brady. And I stream some radio in the morning on the way to work from DC, and I stream. Now you can start streaming. I may or may not have third-party applications running on my phone, and those things, stream live video off of the phone.
Yeah. I don't do any streaming of video or audio. I sync everything with the computer, so I have no idea where all that bandwidth went.
Do you download apps over the Wi-Fi or over
Yeah, I do. Well, usually I do it over the phone.
Right. You don't go straight to the
Right,
computer and download them that way.
It's
That
not clear to me
is
whether
a
or not
huge,
that total
actually
is
tremendous
over.
amount of bandwidth being used.
I got 6 pages of apps.
Yeah.
So,
And think about how many
guys, I'm
times
not
those
sure
are
if that
updated on a
download
weekly
is for
basis, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Higher.
how many of those are under 10 megabytes? It's probably a pretty big number, and
1.2 gigs is still
I
a
don't think
lot.
anyone in this room is a heavy user, but I don't know. I think for AT&T to come back at their user basis and to come back at someone who pays 170 some odd dollars a month, and saying that they need to limit you is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, it's almost laughable. And it's the same thing with their their ads against the Verizon network.
Love
And
the
I think
phone,
Bolton
hate
and I
the
mentioned
network.
this.
Yeah.
It's like, are you really going to sit there and insult the people that pay you money by telling them that they don't understand the difference between 3G and simple GSM networks? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Someone's asked me, do you have the Playboy porn app yet? No, don't have that one.
I'm gonna find it right
I
now.
heard I heard it's not NSFW.
Oh,
So it's not all that racy.
that's funny.
Come on, Bob.
What? There's actually someone down there. I don't know what the holiday is, but someone's shooting fireworks down the street. That's kind of interesting. I'm sure the cops will be in the neighborhood shortly. Hawaii, they
Celebrating
shoot.
your 24-hour
Yeah,
podcast.
in Hawaii they shoot fireworks for anything, and usually they get it. Usually there's no repercussions to it. So, hey guys, we're coming up at the top of the hour. I'm sorry if I dominated your guys' conversation, but at this point in the game, it's rambling time. Why don't you guys tell everyone where you can find your show, and tell them when you produce it so they know where to go find it, and we'll get ready for the next segment here.
Sure, we're at
Go ahead, Will.
www.myuntitledfolder.com, and we produce every weekend, probably on Sunday, usually up by Monday.
So
Yeah, and we're gonna start doing the Ustream thing again, the live video feeds, and it'll definitely be on Sunday. But you can check out twitter.com/WiltJ,
Right.
or twitter.com/Braden Douglas, again with 2 S's. So yeah, if you guys are following those, you'll see we'll tweet up, at least 3 or 4 hours before time and stuff like that. So everyone is free to come out and comment and find us, and you can yell and scream. And if you hate our content, then we love you even more.
Yep, because you know what? If they hate you and they're listening to you, they're part of family. It's just like family members are never agree to anything. So that's a good thing. All right, guys, thanks so much, and thanks for staying up late for me, and I appreciate it. And we'll see you the next go round.
Yeah,
Okay,
Todd, good
thanks,
luck.
sir.
All right, take
Thanks for
care,
having
everybody.
us.
Everyone, we're the next 30 minutes. We are scheduled to have some Linux talk. We're going to do Ubuntu UK podcast. He's due on here in a few minutes, and I'm going to check over and see what we've got going on the Ohanasaurus. Let me see, make sure we've added everybody that needs to get in here. Hang on. Hello, Alan.
Hi, Todd. How you doing?
You must be my caller from the UK.
That's right.
Good. We've had a couple of times here where people have jumped right in as soon as someone's hang up, and I've got to add a few contacts to the system here. Did you were you on earlier when we did the 24 the podcast awards, or were you away from the machine then?
I started listening right at the very start, and then I had to get some sleep. It's about 6. I don't want to sound bad by saying, I've had some sleep when I know you've been up for 13 hours.
No. I encourage everyone to be awake and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed to come on because it helps me stay awake.
Well, I've certainly got the awake bit. Whether I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tails, I've got my coffee here that should sort me out.
I've been drinking mass quantities of iced tea, and I'm at the point now where I'm very close to going Red Bull, but I'm trying to hold off a few more hours before going there because it'll get real ugly once I do. So you know something, I'm glad that you're on. We've been talking with PC folks, been talking with Mac podcasters, and I guess for a better word, I'm a Linux wannabe. I've got a couple of machines that I've loaded Ubuntu on. I've got most of my servers on Fedora Core, and I don't even know if I know my way around a Unix machine that well. So I'm glad you're on here for the show.
It's good that you're using it at all.
Yeah, it's I've got one machine that I use it on. I want to show you something. Did you see earlier when I was brought a fish?
No.
I was brought a fish, and this is a coconut. And the gentleman,
bizarre.
yeah. So a guest that was on, Bruce. As a matter of fact, he's still in the house right now. I think he's been chatting with my lovely wife. But he brought me this fish. This is a painting of a Hawaiian, I guess the official Hawaiian fish. So he's going to be a new addition to the studio here soon. So I'm sure we're going to get lots of comments on it. But I thought I would show everyone the fish here. So
Excellent.
So tell me about your show.
Okay, we put out a show. It's called the Ubuntu UK podcast, and we put it out every other week. We usually record on a Friday or a Monday and then put it out on the Wednesday. There's 5 of us usually involved in the recording process. Myself, Tony Whitmore, Laura Cowan, Simon Dunville, and Dave Walker. And we all travel to one person's house and do the recording there. We'll bring our own microphones and mixer and recording equipment, and we sit down and have a chat for what seems like about 4 hours, but we try and shorten that because it kind of eats into the day if you spend hours and hours podcasting, as I'm sure you're well aware.
How many hours do you do? How long is your show? Did you say?
The show, actually, we aim to be 40 minutes long.
Okay.
So yeah, but we tend to record a little bit, and then we'll have a break and have a cup of tea and some cake, and then we'll record another segment, maybe an interview. We'll do the news and whatever new developments there are in Ubuntu and other Linux distributions as well, and then one of us will edit that down. We actually collaboratively work on that, but usually it falls to one person to do the editing. Once the editing's done, we mix it all together and then release the podcast. And usually we aim for 40 minutes, but it's usually about an hour, something like that.
Do you know how long my show is? I normally do. I don't care if people's shows are long. I do an hour and 15 minutes twice a week.
Yeah, we've asked people how long they think is the right duration, and I know there are some Linuxy podcasts that run for 2 hours every week.
Right.
And I just don't think we could be interesting for 2 hours every week. I don't think, even with 5 of us in the room.
Yeah.
I don't think we could be interesting enough for that long that people would download and listen to the show regularly.
And plus, you got to save some content for the next show. You can't go through the content too fast.
Yeah, absolutely. But we almost always record too much. We've got interviews that we record with developers and users, and invariably we've got more interviews than we have slots to put them in. so that's good. That's a good position to be in because we've got enough content. We thought right at the beginning that we might not have enough content to make up an hour show or 40-minute show, but we were completely wrong on that. We get plenty of feedback and not just reading out the feedback, but discussing the feedback and discussing people's points of view, and that, that eats a fair chunk of the show, and going through the news and updates. And given that, I don't know if many of your listeners know the actual what Ubuntu is, and do you think many of them would have tried it or be aware what it is?
I don't know. I think I think the geeks out there probably run it, but I think a lot of people are still intimidated by Linux to a certain extent. And but those that use it are hardcore in using it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, do you know, it surprises me. I meet people, just in my regular work and actually in my local corner shop. I went in there the other day with an Ubuntu T-shirt. Not this one. This is my podcast T-shirt, but one with an Ubuntu logo, fairly not too conspicuous. And I just went in there and I was buying some groceries, and the guy behind the counter said, "I like your T-shirt." And I said, "Oh, do you know what this is?" Pointed to the logo, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's Ubuntu. I run it on my machine at home." And so there's more and more occasions. We call it Ubuntu spotting, when you spot someone who uses it already and you haven't had to convert them or anything.
We're using it on our new EC2 build for the site that's running Blueberry, but we've run into some things that it does that's a little hokey that Fedora isn't so finicky about, and ultimately we may go back to Fedora. Just because Ubuntu is a little more strict on how it interacts with GPL stuff. So that will be something we're going to have to look at in the future. But right now, our Blueberry's running on an Ubuntu server on EC2.
Yeah, and on Amazon EC2, that cloud computing infrastructure, I'm pretty sure Ubuntu is the single most popular Linux distribution that's used on Amazon. So that's good news that people are using it, both on the server and on the desktop, and laptops and netbooks. And you mentioned in the last segment, you talked about the Google Chrome OS, and I think most people probably aren't aware. Most people probably won't even have seen it or even heard of it, but you might not be aware that underneath the Google Chrome browser is a lot of Ubuntu technology. So that's good for us, because that shows we're getting out there on massive devices.
Yeah, and it's and you can boot the thing up right on a little USB stick too. So that's the coolest thing as well. So
yeah, it's great.
So how long? I may have missed it when you started. How long have you guys been doing your show?
Yeah, we started. Our first episode was in March last year, and we did one season of 20 episodes. In fact, when we started, we didn't know how long a season would be, whether we would have seasons, but when we named the file names, we put SO1 at the start to show that it's season 1, not knowing how long that was going to be.
Yep.
And we did 20 episodes, which ended about Christmas 2008, and then we started a new season about 1 year after the first season started, and that's just coming to an end. We're going to record the last episode 20 of the second season next week sometime, and then we'll have another break and come back with season 3.
Well, let me ask a question about that, because I am not a big fan of individuals or people doing these seasons, and here's the reason why. How much of an audience hit did you take between the time that you stopped the initial shows and then you came back how many weeks or months later and picked off? How big of a hit did you take audience-wise?
That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. I think we've done a little bit of analysis. We know how many actual downloads each episode gets. So typically, I happen to have the webpage open right now with our stats.
Are you using our stats, by the way? Are you using?
Well, we host it ourselves.
Oh, okay.
We have a community. That's one really great thing we do have, is we're lucky that There are a bunch of individuals in the community who volunteered to mirror the podcast, and one of the presenters, Dave Walker, has written some really funky scripts that when we release a show, we put it on our main website, and then we just press a button and it spits it out to all the mirrors.
Right.
And once all the mirrors are in sync, and it checks every mirror every hour to make sure they're all in sync. And once all the mirrors are in sync, we publish the show on the website. And if someone clicks the download link, it actually automatically figures out which mirror to go to based on which mirror owners have told us how much bandwidth they want to give us. So if someone says, "Hey, I've got this huge box with loads of bandwidth," we'll give you loads, of bandwidth, then we allocate more to them.
Right.
And it just load balances between them. So we're very lucky in that regard that people volunteer their bandwidth to us. And I think if looking at the stats, we get typically we release a show late on in the day on a Wednesday, and by 24 hours later, there's about 2,000 downloads of that episode.
That's good.
After about 2 weeks, that's tailed off to about 5,000 downloads of that episode.
Right.
And probably by a couple of months, that's up to about 20 to 30,000.
So you got a pretty good long tail on it then.
Yeah, although, as with all podcasts, we have no idea how many of those actually listen to the show. So
well,
that's a difficult thing to tell.
Well, there's actually some science in being able to do that. And, that's one of the reasons why, actually, let me switch back here. One of the reasons why we built our stats engine was that we wanted to be able to tell from show to show how many unique IPs are coming back and we're seeing again. Because generally people on cable modems and stuff like that, their IPs don't change that often. You'll have some derivative loss over time. But we've been able to, and you guys ought to give it, it's a redirect system, so it really wouldn't affect your mirrors. You guys ought to try it out, and it basically would tell you where all your consumption is coming from and which devices are being actually, downloading the show and so forth. But what we found was that if we determine that a show is, let's say, getting 10,000 downloads per episode, then we help the podcaster build a survey that they would actually share with their audience. And then we know that if they're getting, for example, 10,000 unique IP downloads every show, then they can actually, when they run the survey, they know when they get a 10% sampling. Or maybe they don't get a 10% sampling. Maybe they get a 3% or 4% sampling. And then you can use, some general statistic rules to do some analysis to find out, okay, if I've gotten a 5% sampling, I can be about, 60 or 65% sure that the data that I'm collecting is correct. And a simple question to ask in the survey is, are you listening to the show to the end? Are you, how are you, how soon after you download the show do you listen to it? So that way, if you really want to get deep, if you know what the uniques are, the unique IPs that are downloading the show each time, then you can kind of go in the back door and ask just through a regular survey system what the audience is doing. And my particular show, what I found, and I run a survey about every 18 months, is that 97% of my audience was listening to the end of the show, and I was getting good. Wow. Yeah, so that's a saleable statistic that you can do when you're getting ready to monetize a show. If you guys are looking to do that, and you say, hey, I know that I got X number of shows uniques downloading every show. I got a 10% sampling on that unique number. That 10% said this, and that's pretty rock solid when it comes to being able to.
So we have stats, and we can see what type of players people use, or what download clients people use. And one thing that we did notice was we make our podcast available in 4 formats, which I think possibly is overkill, but all 4 of the formats are used to a greater or lesser degree. We have a high quality MP3 feed and a high quality OGG Vorbis feed, and then low quality MP3 and low quality OGG Vorbis. And the reason why we have those is we're conscious that some people are in bandwidth limited devices or in regions of the world where they don't have huge amounts of bandwidth. So that's why we have the low quality ones, because they're smaller file size. And the reason why we have OGG and MP3 is because out of the box, an Ubuntu system will play OGGs, but you'll need to do an installation of a codec to play MP3. And so to make it work out of the box, we have OGG Vorbis format. Now on Windows and Mac and other platforms, they can play MP3s out of the box, so we have MP3 as well. And what we noticed is our MP3 feed, which is the one that's on iTunes, we get probably about 40% of the MP3 traffic directly from iTunes, which is interesting because given that we're an Ubuntu podcast and there is no native version of iTunes for Ubuntu, that tells us that there's a significant chunk of our audience that are actually using either a Windows PC or a Mac, or even downloading directly on their iPhone or on their Android phone or lots of other devices. We can see what kind of devices people are using. It's very interesting to look at, how people consume the show. And in terms of surveys, we haven't done one yet. We haven't asked the audience, and it's a bit tricky because the open source and free software community is a tricky beast. And when you start asking them to fill in questions that are even vaguely personal, asking personal information, not necessarily details about their name and address or anything like that, but when you start asking them any details about what they do with their computer, a lot of them will just flat out refuse. And they don't like being tracked. They don't like any idea of you watching what they're doing. For example, with Ubuntu, the software, we actually have no concrete idea of how many people use it on the planet. Now, Microsoft know roughly how many people use Windows because they sell a license for every copy. Okay, there are people out there who have illegal copies, but if you just count the people using legal versions, then they know how many people there are using it. And for a Mac, Apple know how many devices they've sold, and they know how many licenses for OS X they've sold. So they have an idea of market share. We actually don't know how many people use Ubuntu because we don't track that and we don't sell it. We give away CDs. So if you go to the Ubuntu website, you can order a CD, and it's a professionally made CD, and they're great, and you can install that on your machine. But then you could give that CD to somebody else, and they can give it to somebody else, or you can burn as many copies as you like and give those away. It's all completely free software. And the byproduct of that is we just don't know how many people. There's speculation. For Ubuntu, it's about 20 million users or something like that, but we don't really know. And that's kind of exciting to some degree.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention to everybody, and it's I better do this before Jeffrey scolds me. We've got some codes here, and so that you've been listening for a while, if you want to get in on a prize giveaway that we're going to have post-show, I've got a couple of codes that you can enter over at podcastmadness.com. This hour is Ubuntu. So if you enter Ubuntu over at podcastmadness.com, that'll get you registered for one of our prizes. And Mac was the code from the previous hour, Mac. So you get the 2-for-1 here, folks. If you hang out, I'll give you a 2-for-1 when we broach the 21:30 hour, and then actually 20:30 hour according to Eastern Standard Time. We'll give you another one here. So podcastmadness.com, enter those two codes to be entered to win. I've got a bunch of T-shirts down here that I'm going to give away too. I think we've got 9 or 10 down here. Those will go into the stack of stuff that we're going to have. Some Zune swag is going to be coming in. I've got a bunch of other stuff that some other hosts people that have been on the show have contributed to the show. And for everyone, don't forget this event is all about raising money for Ronald McDonald House Charities. So we appreciate any contributions being made to that. It's a big help. I do want to thank Andrew Darlow for his contribution. We have a couple more here that I'm going to read through. We've got a contribution from the Tech Buzz, a contribution from them. We've got another contribution here from Alchemy New Media LLC. I want to thank them for their contribution as well. You'll find the contribution link on geeknewscentral.com. All the proceeds raised from this event will go to Ronald McDonald House Charities, and we appreciate everyone's contributions thus far throughout the show. And this is what it's all about. It's giving money back to a worthwhile charity. I know we're all in tight economic times now, but every few dollars helps that you're able to contribute, and it is appreciated. So yeah, sorry about that. I had to remind folks what we're here for. So Alan,
Sure, gotta pay bills.
so how's your guys' experience been thus far? Have you lost someone? Are you doing any? Is everyone holding pretty tight through the whole processing? Have you replaced some people over time, or how's the process went for you?
It's tricky really because we all get together and we've all known each other for a while before we started doing the podcast. Myself, Tony, Dave Walker, and Simon are all in a local Linux user group, so we've all known each other for a few years.
Yeah.
So we're friends, and we record at someone's house, usually Tony's because he's kind of in the middle geographically of us. But we have to travel 50 miles. Well, I travel 50 miles to get to Tony's house once every 2 weeks to record the podcast. But Dave has recently moved out into the West Country part of the UK, so he has to travel a good 3 hours or more to get to a recording, and so that's quite a commitment.
My eyeballs are wide open. 3 hours?
Yeah, he drives 3 hours to get there for a recording that takes a couple of hours. Now, luckily, his parents live nearby, so he can go straight to his parents' house afterwards, and then home the next day.
Why don't you guys buy a mixer and have him Skype in and save him the drive?
We do actually have a mixer. We have all the equipment, but there's a couple of issues with using Skype. One is we made a commitment right at the start that we would use only free software, free licensed software, and open source software from the start, and that was something that we chose to do. Now, it's possible we could use open source and free software to do remote participation, like something like Skype, but an open source version. That's possible. But actually, we've tried it, and we found it was a bit difficult in terms of there's something about the dynamic when you've got everyone in the same room.
Yeah.
And you can, when you're looking at each other, you give hand signals and gestures for when you want to say something, and you can read each other's faces, and there's something different about all being in the same room. Plus the fact that we have decent quality microphones all plugged into a mixer, and means we get fairly good audio quality all being in the same room and on that mixer. Yeah, that was a decision we made, and I think it has held us back in some ways, in that once in a while it would be nice to be participating remotely, like I am with you. I mean, without something like Skype, there's no way that I could be talking to you however many thousands of miles away you are from me now.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm using Skype on Ubuntu right now, so
Well, I tell you, that's a big commitment. Driving three. He must be single. He can't be married.
No, he's married, and he recently had a little son. Actually, we had an event in the UK. This this mug, I don't know if you can see this, but it's got Og Camp written on it. We had a little event, one-day event, where we got loads of people around the UK together, and it was an unconference where we had people come together and give talks, and it was a great little event. And Dave's son was born on that weekend, but he was still considering coming up. That commitment to come and see us all at this thing. But I think that got vetoed.
He would have been a dead man. Oh my gosh, that's You guys got to start making a lot of money on this show real quick, because 3 hours, you can see, like, you're going to go where? How long? 3 hours? And you're going to record what? For 2 hours? And then you're going to drive home for 3 hours?
Yeah, it's quite a commitment.
Yeah.
And actually, we've not talked at all about making money and monetizing the podcast at all. And I don't think we necessarily have any aspiration to do that.
You guys are hardcore. You guys are true. I thought Mac fans were zealots about their computers. This, I applaud you. I applaud you.
Thanks very much.
Now, as someone said in the chat, TW3 4KD, and I think it goes, the life of the wife was ended by the knife. So, oh my
We all
goodness.
have very, very understanding partners. Yeah. You're right on that one.
You know,
that's one reason why we take a break. Like the next, and we only do it once every 2 weeks. So really, it's only a few hours. Once every 2 weeks. So it's not like we're doing it every Friday or every Saturday. It's, I'm trying to make it sweeten the pill.
Okay,
a bit here.
let me tell you a little story. When I first got married, I was running a bulletin board system, and it was before the internet. It was before, I guess, BI, before internet, right? It was before anyone was, there was the internet, but there really wasn't the internet. And it was a money pit. I mean, I sank thousands of. I had a multi-line bulletin board system. I had the top equipment of the day, and this is when hard drives were you could buy, at the top end, you maybe have a what was it, 1.6 gig hard drive or something like that was the biggest hard drive at the time, and I had thousands and thousands of dollars in not only gear but debt. And I told my wife, "Oh, this is going to make money, newlywed, blah blah blah." And at about 4 years in, she's like, "When is this going to start making money?" And in all honesty, it never really. It made some money, but peanuts.
Sure.
Peanuts and peanuts and peanuts. And I had. You think that the podcasting space was a time sink? This thing was massive, massive time sink. And it took a toll. It took a toll on my wedding and my marriage, and it took a toll on my wedding. Took a toll on my marriage, and finally, basically, it when we moved to Hawaii, it kind of went to the wayside. And we've been here now 12 years, and it just ran on remote control for years, and there was no more money being sunk into it. So when I decided to do this. And I am the type that's the compulsive obsessive. When I start something, it's all or nothing. It has to be right.
It's full on.
It's full on, yeah. And I told her, I said, and part of the reason there was a business plan for 2 years to make money is because my wife had a stick. And if I had not made money with this thing, she's here. Come here. Come around the corner. If this podcast had not made money in 2 years, what would I have been? She's looking at me like, in other words, you would have been dead. Because there wasn't going to be no sweet tea here, folks. No sugar. I'm a northern guy. I don't put. Is there sugar in here? Oh, calamansi. You guys know what calamansi is?
Is that some kind of sweetener?
It's like a little lemon. It's a Philippine lemon. Calamansi is it's about that big. It's green, and boy, it tastes good. This is a treat. Anyway, she basically said, you're not going to have another money pit, and anything you buy will come from proceeds of the show. And so, I guess, and I understand.
Lucky in that,
Go ahead.
in that we haven't actually outlaid a huge amount of money.
Right. And I didn't either until I made money.
Right.
Yeah, there was.
Well, I think between now and the next season, which will start in February next year, or sometime around then, we'll probably have discussions about, what the future plans for the podcast are. But at the moment, we're just doing it for the fun and because we like doing it.
Yeah, and that's good. That's the best way to do it. And if you can't have fun doing it, it's not worth doing it. And I have nothing against. Yeah.
Your previous question about have we lost anyone? So far, no, we've not lost anyone. We've had arguments. We've had little fights here and there where we've not been happy with each other, but we've resolved all of those usually pretty quickly, and everything moves on and everything's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, we're at the bottom of the hour here, and it went pretty quick. So tell everyone again.
Thanks very much, Todd.
Hey, you're welcome. Tell everyone where your show is again and where they can find it. So
if you just do a search for Ubuntu UK podcast, you'll find us on iTunes, and you'll find our website. And we welcome feedback. Every communication medium, Twitter, Identica, email, everything. That's all detailed on the website, Ubuntu UK podcast.
Okay. Thanks so much, Alan, and have a good morning there in the UK. And I guess it's
I'm going to go and get some bacon.
All right. Take care. Thanks so much for
good.
Aloha.
Thanks, bye.
We've got, I believe, Nir. Are you? Yeah, you're on. Good. So let me. Why don't you tilt the webcam down just a little bit if you can, and that way you'll be a little bit higher in the frame. There we go. That's real good. Folks, we got Nir on. Nir's calling in from Israel. How are you tonight? Or actually, what time is it there?
It's actually early morning over here. It's 8:30 in the morning. We're 12 hours ahead of you.
Yeah, so you're almost directly 100% on the opposite side of the planet from me. And
that's right. Going to Hawaii, I can go either which way will be the same time for me, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing's for sure is you've had a nice sleep tonight. You've had a good rest, and so you're ready to start your day off, and that's good. So I guess now we're about 14 and a half hours in, and so far I'm hanging pretty tight. The true test will come in about 4 hours when I probably will end up hitting the wall. But tonight we're going to be talking with you about Israel High Tech. We're going to be talking a little bit about LinkedIn, some solar energy. You've sent me some pretty cool solar energy articles before, and something PVT. I don't even know what PVT is, Nir. What is that?
You know what PVT is very well. Photovoltaic technology or photovoltaic cells.
Yeah, photovoltaic. Okay, yep, you're right. I do. And you're somewhat of an expert on this. Why don't you first of all, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and so everybody knows exactly who you are, and go ahead.
Okay. Let me start. My expertise is mainly marketing, international business development, and so on, and I concentrate on Asia Pacific and North America regions from a geographic point of view. And from a technology point of view, I handle communications, telecoms, a little bit of homeland defense, HLS, homeland security, some defense. And I've been watching the renewable energy space quite a lot. If you see the picture behind me, you may or may not recognize this picture my wife drew for me. And since you lived in the equatorial regions for years, you may recognize the fruit or not. Are you familiar with mangosteens, by the way?
What kind of fruit?
Mangosteen?
No, I'm not familiar with mangosteen.
Oh, that's strange. It's they have there's the king of fruits in the equatorial regions. There's a king of fruits and a queen of fruit, and mangosteen is the queen. It's like a brownish, purplish fruit, the size of I would reckon a small tangerine, and inside it's got the white like you see in the picture behind me, and it looks like garlic teeth, but it actually is a very, very sweet, a bit the texture of a lychee, if you will. But anyhow.
Oh, is it? You said it tastes like a lychee?
The texture is like a lychee.
Oh, okay. Do they call it anything else anywhere else?
In Bangkok, in Thailand, they call it mangkut, M-A-N-K-U-T. The English name for it is mangosteen, like mango with a S-T-E-E-N.
Boy, I am.
Anyhow,
I'm going to have to find out where I can get some of that. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
It's generally you find it in a lot of the Asian stores. Chinese, Thai people like it a lot. It's a fruit that's very, very sensitive fruit, but quite abundant in equatorial regions. So I thought you may have heard of it. Anyhow, that's the mangosteen, and my company is called Mangosteen Networks for systems network of people, network of communications, and so on.
Oh, very cool.
So that's what I do. That's what I do. Yeah, so
So
just before I start talking a little bit about what I had in mind, I was just wondering, Todd, how many people do you have listening to you from Israel, as far as you know, if you have your statistics?
I'll have to bring it up, and while you're talking, I'll bring up the stats and I'll actually look and see how many are. I don't have that right in front of me, and I can get to it pretty quick. So let me see here, stats.blueberry.com, and put my login in, and go to, let's just look at the last, I'll just look at a general view here. I actually got to do a search because I've logged in as admin. Geek News. And I'm getting close here. Oh, that was dumb. Dun 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 dun. I think we're getting. I can hear Skype getting a little wavery in the background. That happens sometimes, but so far the connection seems pretty good. And
Well, I've been using Skype for, I reckon, 5, 6 years now. Most of the time, never used the headsets. I just have a speaker right next to the screen, far enough away from the speakers that are inside the screen, and it works pretty well for me.
yeah. All right, let's go and look at an overall view. I got the overall view loaded.
Were you ever here with your P3 travels? You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No, I never was. Generally, when I guess the closest I got when I was working with the Naval Research Laboratory many years ago, we would go on these around the world trips, and we would fly from United Arab Emirates to someplace. Actually, we'd go to Greece, and then we would fly into the UK, then usually home from there. So never went into Israel at all. I wish we would have. And let me look down through the list here and see what it says. GH. Actually, the numbers are going lower as I'm scrolling down. So,
It's probably pretty low.
yeah, it's probably not too low. Oh, I must have missed it. Let me scroll up.
That's all right.
82. Believe it or not, 82.
Wow.
Yeah, that's more than
a
I.
big number.
That's more than I thought. Yeah, I would have.
Yeah, well,
That's good though.
yeah, it's not bad. I mean, we're only about a country of 6 or 7 million people. I mean, we make a lot more noise than that, but that's all we are. And the number of geeks here is pretty high, but not that high. So it's not a bad number. Not a bad number at all.
Yeah, not a bad number. Now, since aggregated totals since I've started doing my show, we've seen a number 1,926 unique IPs come out of Israel, but an average is 82. So, people's IPs change on their computers. I've been doing this for 5 years, so that's not surprising. So anyway, what's going on in tech in Israel?
Okay. I think I don't know whether I gave the history last year, and the history is definitely somewhat in the eye of the beholder in this country as well as in this region, definitely. But one of the things that I think are of interest is what we have. One of the very important statistics that's coming out of Israel is that we're the number 2 country in startup, and there's a book that's been written recently, and I'll send you the link about. They call it the Startup Nation.
Right.
Strange enough, but we are, and I think if you take the number of countries listed on companies listed on NASDAQ, after the US, we're number 2. I think we used to be number 3, but we went up to number 2, which is a strange cultural, demographic figure to come up with. Not sure why. There's different explanations. I've read some of it. Not sure that I agree with all that's written there. but it is strange. And before I'll talk about some of the explanations that I've read. Some important real figures and facts that cannot be argued with. Israel has had the first offshore Intel design facility outside of the U.S. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I wasn't.
And that was opened up in the Okay,
Go ahead.
that was in the 70s. By the way, I'm getting quite a big delay between the video and the audio. Your audio is okay, but I think I'm getting like a 3 second delay in the video.
Yeah, it's probably longer than that. So yeah, definitely don't cue off me on the video. That's for sure, because the video is, and we were running earlier like 45-second delay, so it's actually doing pretty good now.
Okay, okay, that's good. The other fact is that I think if you recall the late 70s, the 8080 Intel CPU was designed here, and then the follow-on CPUs and I think you may know that some of the CPUs are named after different rivers around the world, depending on where it was designed. And we have a whole bunch of Israeli rivers. We don't have much water here, as you probably know, but we have a whole bunch of CPUs named after some rivers here. The Pentiums, the Centrinos, and I recently read the iCore 7 or something like that is also being designed here. So from that point of view, we must be doing something right. I'm not sure if it was by design or by default, but that's what's happening here. I think we're actually very proud of that. In addition, there's two Intel fabs that are working here. One in Jerusalem and one in the city. I mean, both of them did get a lot of government subsidies and support, but that's happening over here as well. So without getting into too much politics, but since you are in this region, you can't avoid it.
True.
Anybody that's in the world that's trying to boycott us for whatever reason, hey, to turn those Intel CPUs off and start talking to us via drums or things like that. So it's very easy to boycott us for getting what we did. We just got a Nobel Prize actually from our home city for chemistry this year. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So you may or may have not seen some of the statistics with all the people that are trying to knock us Jews against Muslims or whatever. We must be doing something right in certain fields in the more positive ways. But having said that, let's put that aside. I don't want to get dragged into that. We can, if you will.
No. It's probably a good conversation to stay away from. There's enough talking heads to talk about that for the both of us. That's for sure.
Okay, but anyhow, I think the point is well made that on the positive sense, we have done some good things for the rest of the world.
Yeah,
put it that way.
And I think the work ethic is obvious, and I know when we go to CES, we meet a lot of Israeli startups, and a lot of times those guys are. One thing I'll say that they know their stuff and they really are behind their product, and I respect that. And if you're part of any startup, you have to be that way. That's for sure. So you had a note on your agenda that you wanted to talk about LinkedIn a little bit. So. What is your fascination, or what is your curiosity on LinkedIn?
Okay, just before we got another 15 minutes. Let me just 2 more minutes
sure.
On the high tech. I think you're going to see you're seeing a lot of the guys in the high tech. I would say the science, I would say the communications, telecom, internet, but you're not seeing any of the life sciences. But it appears that. We can talk about innovation a little bit later, but it appears that the life sciences will follow. They're about 10 or 15 years behind where the high tech was with the communications and so on, at least over here. And that appears to be the next big thing. Those things, as you probably know, the turnaround time is a lot longer and so on. But that's the next big thing, and I think it's coming up as well. I think not only here, but I'm starting to see that. But that's you're talking about LinkedIn. I've been watching and been active on LinkedIn for, I reckon, very active for the last year or two. Are you doing much there, or you don't have time for it?
Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Are you active much on LinkedIn at all?
You
Are
know,
you talking on LinkedIn?
I follow people, and we actually have used LinkedIn to find some hires that we've hired at Raw Voice. Some people that we actually all the hires that we found recently we've done through LinkedIn, and it's been fabulous to be able to put up a job. Help, and it's relatively expensive, $200 to put up an advertisement on LinkedIn for, let's say for example, a sales position. We've generally been getting 15 to 30 qualified candidates from those ads, and then it's real. You know, you can go right in and you can read their profile. You know, you go in where their work experience is, who they've worked with, what titles they had, so on and so forth, and it almost lets us vet candidates before we even call them, because you know it's someone would be pretty brave to lie about their credentials on LinkedIn, because if you're friends with somebody, they're going to see what you've written. So that's how we've used LinkedIn as a company.
I think it's a great tool. It's not a Facebook. It's a very professional platform, and I think it's very, very powerful tool. Even just the free version of it, and I fully agree with you. And you can really get very, very focused in there and find exactly what you're looking for. In fact, about 6 months ago, I had a very specific question, something relating to China. I went into one of the groups that I'm signed up for, and it's just amazing to see within a couple of hours you'll get a straight answer. You'll be able to talk to people back and forth, and very little spam. There's a little bit of spam, people asking just to get connected, and that's all right. You can avoid it, or you can just increase your membership or whatever. But that's a non-issue. I find it extremely powerful. In fact, I did open up a group of my own for discussions, and that's been growing quite nicely. And you're able to generate a lot of good and positive discussion there. And I'm sure many of your members, many of your listeners are also over there, because it's just a great platform. And they have been able to keep the non-professionals out. I'm not sure how, but they have been able to do that.
Well,
I
think people are, if you don't have a background or some sort of a resume, then I don't think people want to even be on there. I think that's part of it too. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I also find that if you do respond, you need to just if there's one suggestion I can make to anybody that's interested, is that you just generate some discussion, or you answer some questions that are being posted there, and you get a lot of good feedback, and you make some good contacts if you're looking for some. In fact, one of the contacts I have found was through there, and it's slowly. I'm not seeing the business yet, but it's heading that way. So one of the contacts I can actually directly attribute to a connection made over there. And I reckon you just said that you probably have hired people through there, so it must be doing something right.
And it's hit and miss, and you end up vetting people through the interview process and weeding people out, and and it's that way in any type of a job interview situation. But I think we've gotten our money's worth, well worth the small price for the Help Wanted ad, and much better, I would say, than any other place that we've run basically Help Wanted type of advertisements on. And I think for me, time is money, and I don't have time to monkey around. And when I can click on a profile and I go boom, 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 yeah, that's a candidate worth talking to. You see how long a person's been in a company. If they've been in a company for, a couple of years and had some, looks like upward progression, then that's, maybe someone you want to talk to. But if you've got a person that's moved from one firm to the other and it doesn't necessarily look like it's much of an upgrade, well, maybe that's not a person you want to, you want to have a discussion with. And it's hard finding good people, finding good, motivated people that are willing to work. And I'm not the type of person who likes to hold hands, so. I like to tell somebody one time and not have to come back and follow up. And maybe it's my, being in the Navy for 24 years that has made me that way. But it's hard to find good people that don't have to be babysat, I guess.
Yeah, and also on LinkedIn you can get some people referring and actually talking about them or giving good referrals. So you can really very quickly zoom in and so on. And by the way, talking about the Navy, I think if we go back to Israel again, sorry that I'm pulling in that direction
Sure.
again. Innovation, part of the explanation of the innovation that's happening over here, and I think you, having been in the Navy, you may be able to appreciate it. Maybe in the Navy, in the U.S. military in general, it's somewhat different. But over here, as you know, we have compulsory military service. It's
Yep.
not elective anymore.
Right.
It was never. It's a 3-year service for the boys and 2 years for the girls. And if you sign up to be an officer, it's a minimum of another year. The pilots and Navy officers are much longer, of course. So relatively, at a relatively young age, straight out of high school, within a year or two, you become an officer here if that's what you want to do, and you get a lot of responsibility. I mean, you could be at the age of 20, a year or two younger than the soldiers, just directly under your command, responsible for 20 or 30 people. So it does give you a lot of responsibility. I'm not sure that looking in retrospect whether you have enough experience to do that, but some people do that.
And does
At least a lot of responsibility is put into your hands, and it's up to you of what you make of it. And the military over here still is, but maybe somewhat less. Innovation, finding solutions quickly on the spot where you're faced with a problem, and especially in a military situation, you're actually you practice and then you put it into practice very quickly. And part of the reasons that innovation is so good here, apparently, some of the people explain it, I'm not sure I buy it 100%, but it makes somewhat sense, is people have come out of the military where they have taken a lot of responsibility, they've taken risks, and that's what happens later. You know, they come out into the civilian world, they go up to university, they do their degrees or whatever, and it's in their blood to take some risks and to go out and do things and take the responsibility.
Do you think it builds?
That's on the one hand.
Do you think it builds a work ethic as well?
It definitely does build a work ethics, and that's both positive and negative, because we are very undisciplined people. Whereas in the U.S., people, I think, are more disciplined. When you're told to do something, you generally do it somewhat. I lived in the U.S., so I'm a little bit familiar with some of the culture and so on. Over here, when you're told to do something, you'll go and do it, but if you believe otherwise, you'll go and do something else as well.
Yeah.
And if you really don't believe what you'll do, you'll go ahead and do it, even if you're told to do otherwise, and you'll take the responsibility afterwards. And that's part of the innovation as well. You know, if you feel that your boss is telling you to do something that's not right, that's not the right thing to do, you might half-heartedly do what he's telling you to do, but at the same time, in the background, on your own free time, you'll go ahead and do what you think is right anyhow. And you'll make sure that afterwards, when you think that what you did is right, you'll go and show him. And we're very upfront people, so if we don't like what we're being told, we'll tell you the way it is. So I think that's also part of innovation, and that's how things developed here. Another explanation that's coming up also, again, being tracked back to the military, whether I buy it or not, I'm not sure, but it has something to do with it. We are very target focused, because in the military, if you're told to do something, you do it all the way to the end, most of the time. And that's why part of the work ethics here is that people come to work 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, but they'll stay till 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. If that's the mission and that's what needs to be done, that's what happens. And actually, I know some people at Intel, and I know that's what happens in Intel in Israel, but in some other parts of the world, it doesn't really happen. Comes 5 o'clock, everything that people go home. So it's part of the commitment as well that I think is also important for a startup. And you being in a startup know that you're independent as long as you have your 24 hours and you decide which 24 hours of the day you're going to work at. And I can see that you're working 24 hours a day, if not more at times.
Well, there's, when you're, I don't want to call Raw Voice a startup anymore because we're well beyond that stage. We've gained profitability and we're working, towards what's going to happen in the next 5 years. We're not in survival mode. We're in continue to move forward and kick ass and take names mode, I guess. But I think that in any business, no matter what you're doing, you just got to remain aggressive, and you can't stay complacent, and you have to keep trying stuff. And if something doesn't work, you got to be willing to throw it away and move on. And we've done our fair share of that, and we're not perfect. And but it just comes as part of the territory. One thing I was kind of curious about when you've sent me a number of stuff on solar, and we don't have a lot of time left, so I guess I want your opinion on this. We talked about solar a little bit last year when you were on. Do you see the price of solar? Do you see the vice grip that these companies have on solar pricing to start to come down? Are the Chinese starting to get involved in mass producing? Are we gonna, is solar going to become effective so I can line my house, and put in a 1 kV system on the roof and not have to spend $45,000 to do it? Is solar going to come down anytime soon, do you think?
It's coming down. It's coming down. I've seen some numbers, but the numbers are still just not there. They simply are not there. About a year ago, I think the numbers in the U.S. was about $7 per watt installed. Now it's maybe down to $5. But I think it has to go down an order of magnitude to make it feasible, to make it viable. And it's not happening. It's just not happening. It's going. But as you said, $45,000. That's right. Divided by 5. You need as a minimum. You need 5 kilowatts. And just seeing the equipment behind you, 5 kilowatts may not be enough.
Yeah, I know. And I think I use on a monthly basis, we're about 1,300 kilowatts. Is that what we use a month? And, so, yeah, it's you got to figure out what to do at some point. But here in Hawaii, we basically, I don't know in Israel if you have nuclear power or not, but here in Hawaii, all of our generators are on oil. We've got all this sunshine year-round generally, and so few of us have solar on our houses, and lots of wind. We're up here where I live. Tonight it's actually pretty calm. We got all these natural resources we can use, and no one can afford to install it yet. And the payback period is not insignificant. They say 8, 9, 10-year payback, but who owns a house today for 10 years on their own? And if the resale value doesn't help you out, then what are you to do? Plus, the solar companies are even getting you a little heavier. I had a guy out here and he looked at the house. He said, "How old's your roof?" I said, "My roof is 10 years." He says, "Well," we're going to have to replace you're going to have to put a new roof on before we put the solar down because the solar's rated for 25 years. We don't want your roof going bad at year 20 and we have to tear all the solar up." And I'm thinking, my God, all the little hoops you have to jump through just to get solar on a building and at a cost-effective price. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I just wish it would come down.
It's not happening, and with you guys getting hurricanes and winds and whatever, I mean, on the average, it wouldn't last more than 5 to 10 years anyhow. So I don't think it's just the numbers are not there. And I think the payback should be 2 to 3 years. Like we have solar water heaters over here, which are very, very common. We get a return on investment within a year or two, and then they last for 10 years.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I have solar water, hot water heater on my house too, and it reduces my electricity bill $100 a month. I know that I basically can run on solar hot water for about 9 to 10 months a year, and we do kind of have I don't even want to say winter because a winter is a drop in 10 degrees, but we don't have as much direct sunshine in our November, December, January months. So sometimes we have to run the power on the hot water heater if we run everyone through showers and the water's cold and can't do the dishes with it. But that's kind of where we're at too. But yeah, almost everyone here has solar hot water heaters.
Yeah, that makes sense. Over here, that's been popular for like 50 years or so. So
yeah.
They have that water heater, but electricity. And then if we go back to one of your earlier discussions about the cars, the hybrid cars. I
Yeah.
mean, so if you really go solar for electricity, what's going to happen to the batteries? What you're going to do with them?
It's true. And what did you think of that Tesla S that they're going to come out with? Did you see that earlier today?
I heard part of it. I just had to run out, so I just saw some of it.
Oh,
I have missing.
beautiful vehicle if they can actually bring it to market. Now, Nissan, they're going to bring their all-electric car to market, but I think if the Tesla folks can bring their vehicle to market, it's got a little longer range. But yeah, you're right. Then what do you do with all the the environmentalists? Well, great, we're not running gas. Now we got millions and millions of batteries that have to be disposed of. Yeah, there you go. You thought that nuclear power is a bad waste problem. Wait till all these cars have batteries in them that have to go into a landfill that will have to not leak any type of sediment for a million years. Good luck, right?
Exactly. So and take that just a step further, if you like. The CFL lights. You remember the CFL lights
Yep.
that everybody was saying, "Hey,
Yep.
we'll come up." Yeah, they're great, but you know what the problem with them is?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, the problem with them is that they're full of mercury. So how do you dispose of them? So you're saving energy and you're creating mercury. I see the next call is coming up, so we'll have to get off.
Oh, where did you get that, Ray? My son just walked in here. Which vehicle is that?
Tesla.
Where did you get that at? My son just walks in here. We're talking about the Tesla, and he's got a picture of the Tesla, the all electric, all the time vehicle that is
Look at the bit to your,
is being
look at the bit to your left. You can
yeah,
see
is
it.
being proposed. Now, this doesn't look like the one I saw in the image today, but that's cool. I didn't know you had that. So, Jeffrey, is it not coming up on video?
No, I haven't turned it on yet.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been great. If you want to hang out, you can hang out. Jeffrey's going to be here in the next segment, but feel free to hang out a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and reset the conversation. It was stimulating, as always, to talk to you. I appreciate it. Lots of great
Same
topics
here.
here.
Look forward to talking to you next year as well. Got to run out. Sorry about that.
It's
I'll
okay.
be listening to you a little later on.
All right. Hey,
Thanks.
have a great morning, and thanks so much. Take care. All
Bye-bye.
right. Aloha. All right. Let me go ahead,
Bye.
Jeffrey, and recycle things. And for
Okay.
those of you that have been listening here, I need to go back, and I missed an hour on our codes, so I'm going to give you guys a code here. Yeah. We gave out hour 19 and 20, but we need to back up, and here's one for you guys. Hawaii. Podcastmadness.com, code Hawaii, and you get a 2-for-1. A 2-for-1 next hour is my favorite word in the whole world. Hour 21, the code is Geek. Go over to podcastmadness.com, enter Hawaii and Geek, and guess what? You'll be in the running for a cool prize at podcastmadness.com. All right, let me go ahead and cycle the recordings.
Isn't your favorite code money?
No.